tears in my eyes.
The cream of the crop. Acknowledge me.
Episode 334 of Top Rope Nation. My God, does it feel good to be back, ladies and gentlemen. It has been a while, 2.5 weeks since an episode of the flagship. Ryan Drosty, Justin Joint, Jesse Velasquez. Justin, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing damn good, my friend. It's kind of like one of the best times of the year right now. You know, AEW is, for me at least, must watch TV every week. It's WrestleMania season. The build for that has been pretty solid. March Madness. For some absolutely unknown reason, I am especially hyped for the NFL draft this year. I don't know what's going on here. Yeah,
that's because you're converting into a Chicago Bears fan, Justin, based on our text messaging.
They might be becoming my second team. That Caleb Williams, he is something else.
Yeah. I have watched all of his throws from his workout the other day more than once. I am hyped. I'm ready to go. We got Keenan Allen on the Chicago Bears since we last recorded. Things are looking up for my favorite football team. Jesse, I mean, the Vikings might be in the mix for a new quarterback. You got the best wide receiver in the NFL. Justin, your team just went to the Super Bowl.
They sure did.
This might have to morph into a professional football podcast pretty soon because all three of our teams might be doing pretty good next year. We'll see. We'll see. Jesse, how are you doing?
I'm in on that. We got Aaron Jones too. I'm high on him as long as he stays healthy. So I had an opening, and I think I can rehearse this off top of my head. So wrestling podcasts and TRN followers definitely need the feeling restored, and bruv, we're about to restore the feeling.
I'm shocked you don't have the shirt on tonight. You got the bruv shirt. I saw you posting it over on Twitter.
It is to my left. I actually plan on, so we haven't had a super chat in a while. I am more than welcome to do a wardrobe change on camera for a super chat.
Jesse offering to strip for super chats tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes,
Make sure
I am.
You were tuned in.
For anybody out there who wants to see the best 43-year-old bod in South Canada.
Jesse, congratulations on that, by the way. Placing number 1 in your age bracket, CrossFit in Minnesota. That's awesome. Fittest pro wrestling podcast on the universe right here.
I hope so. I don't know of any normal podcasters that are fit.
I sure should have not.
I don't work out nearly enough anymore. So you can just carry the show in the fitness department. You're doing well enough. I think you could do so. So, are you drinking tonight, by the way, now that the competition's over? You got anything in the glass?
Very little. So I do have a shot here of Hendrick's gin. I'm going to slam that.
Ooh. All right.
Very nice.
Getting after it.
Go ahead. Now I got one more.
No, you first.
So in honorary John Moxley-like fashion, got a little athletic NA brew this evening. These are tasty.
We keep those in our fridge here.
Nice.
Yeah. My wife really likes them.
She does. Have you had one before?
Yeah, they're not bad.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't mind an NA every now and again.
For sure.
But speaking of Minnesota, it's pretty crazy. Us Iowa boys just can't get enough of South Canada these days. My family was back up there 2 weeks ago to visit my father-in-law, and also me and my boys had our first visit to the aquarium that's there in the Mall of America. And boy, we loved it. It was pretty incredible. Had a stingray poop right above my head. That was neat.
My family went there last week to the same aquarium at the Mall of America. So amazing. Had great food up there that you guys had recommended, Brick and Bourbon.
Yeah, had that old fashioned with the sugar waffle. Mm.
Hey, I brought back a souvenir from Minnesota, and that's what I have in the glass tonight. So highly recommended from Jesse Velasquez. Finally got my hands on some Modest Dream Yard. So good. You know what this reminds me of?
Amazing.
It reminds me of Toppling Goliath Pseudo Sue when they first started making it. And Tim Jensen out there, he'll know what I'm talking about, because now Pseudo Sue is a little bit lighter. It's not like it used to be. I mean, this is straight up orange juice. It looks like orange juice in the glass. This is what Pseudo Sue used to look like. And it tastes really, really similar. Good stuff.
So, Justin, you were in Rosemont, correct?
Yes. Yep.
I love that suburb. One of my best friends lives there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not. We don't really go anywhere when we're there because both my wife and her dad are pretty tremendous cooks. So we don't really have the need to go anywhere. So we just went to the aquarium and that was about it.
Neighborhoods are sweet there. Ryan, move there.
We'll see. We'll see. Justin, are you drinking something?
Am I drinking something? Come on.
What do you got? Are you drinking non-alcoholic beer?
No. I switched it up just a tiny bit. I have a T&T, a Tito's and tonic.
Ah, okay. Very nice. Love it. Well, you see the names scrolling across the bottom here of all of our beautiful patrons, and we thank each and every one of you for signing up and supporting the show. Jesse, you have been keeping the audio feed active in our absence, so this is why we didn't have a flagship last week, because I was out of town for spring break with my family, and it was really going to be pushing it to do a show. Everyone was kind of busy, but Jesse, you've put out 2 editions of TRN Unplugged in just the last few days. You want to talk about what has hit the Patreon feed recently?
Yes, a solo show where apparently the wrestling Twitter segment was the hype. I think it's almost to a point where I've almost been talked into doing a regular 15 to 20 minute show each week. I'm considering it as long as my mental health isn't compromised. I'm dead serious. You'd be surprised how many brain cells you lose when you see all these idiotic takes on Twitter. And then the big episode, which I really enjoyed, was with Brian Zillum, newest patron and also TRN Facebook group member, and our newest TRN Facebook group member, Mr. Cam Hawkins from The Ringer, where we discussed a lot of wrestling media kind of behind the scenes stuff because they've been in some scrums the last 6 months. Cam is pretty connected into the pro wrestling scene, so a lot of the stuff was very unconventional, but I think you'd really find this a highly entertaining episode just because of the stories that were told.
Agree. I enjoyed listening to it. So you've had that coming out. We've got TRN Classics on WrestleMania 18, which you guys briefly discussed on Unplugged, all 3 of you. We'll be recording that one in about a week and a half. We were originally going to do it next week, and then I forgot that I signed up to do a podcast with our friend Frank Pettiani over at Pro Wrestling Torch. I'll be on his Then and Now podcast next week talking WrestleMania 10. So if you want to hear that, sign up for the VIP over on PW Torch. And then the week after that, TRN Classics, we will be talking about WrestleMania 18. Really, really looking forward to that one. I'm glad you shouted out Brian as our newest patron, and that is true. Brian just joined, but also we had another new patron that I haven't shouted out yet because we've been off the air. Thank you to Justin Kendall for signing up for the Top Rope Nation Patreon page as well. So as I say every week, you guys make this show possible. You make all that bonus content possible. You got even more stuff dropping on Patreon than our main feed. So if you want to hear all of it, link in the podcast description. And if you're here right now on YouTube, like Jesse said, you can support us with a super chat. You can get that Bruv t-shirt on Jesse, a live on-air wardrobe change tonight, folks. Just send us the super chat. We'll make it happen.
Frank, I want to give you a shout out. I listen to your Pro Wrestling's Then and Now every month, and now with Ryan, I'll listen to it probably 2 or 3 times because number 1, it's Brett winning the title at the end, and number 2, it's the 2 of you.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Every time I'm on with Frank, it's a blast. So I'm looking forward to it.
I got something to say to Frank also. Stop posting food pictures on Instagram if you're not going to send me some. Okay?
Just get some dry ice, send it through the mail. It's not that hard, man. It's a few more bucks. You could do it.
You need to start posting your ribs on Facebook and sending them directly to Frank, Justin.
Oh, man. True. My last one's turned out real bad. I was embarrassed. Oh. Yeah. I had a buddy over as like a thank you for helping me out with a small little project I had here. And I don't know what happened. I burnt the crap out of the bottoms. Mustard makes me want to vomit just by smelling it. But you're supposed to layer it to keep the rubs stuck to it. But I've switched to olive oil, and I'm wondering if that's in the last 2 times I've done it, it's burnt the crap out of my ribs. So I got to come up with something different. I might try mayonnaise. I hate mayonnaise too, but at least that's not as pungent of a smell as mustard.
I am not a mayonnaise fan.
Nope.
Well, let's transition before we get too far down the make this a cooking podcast. Not that I don't like enjoying your ribs, Justin.
Yeah, you like eating them. You don't
Yeah.
necessarily want to talk about them.
What I do want to talk about is Dwayne Johnson and his return to WWE over the last couple of weeks, because everybody's talking about Dwayne and the build to WrestleMania 40 and the story. We now have the tag team match official that we speculated on weeks ago. Night one, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and Roman Reigns teaming up against Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. So we got that on deck. And I mean, for my money, we got The Rock really overshadowing your world champion, universal champion, Roman Reigns. And I wanted to get your takes on what's been going on. Do you think it's hurt Roman in his presentation leading up to WrestleMania? Does he seem minor, like a minor figure on television with The Rock back? Do you have any problems with what's going on? What have you thought about The Rock's presentation? Jesse, I know you're more of a WWE viewer than Justin, so I'm going to throw it to you first. What have you made of Rocky's return thus far?
I now lie in the middle, where at one point I was completely on the negative side, and now I lie in the middle. I do think his promos are a little drawn out, yet I also feel that getting 2003 Hollywood Rock, which was only for a brief period of time, is kind of sweet. I mean, and it got to the point where I told the story on Unplugged where I was going to go buy a Mexico shirt before my last workout. I saw an Under Armour, walked in, saw a Project Rock shirt, and immediately bought it. I said, nope, that's the one. So I am a Dwayne Johnson guy through and through. I think his social media stuff has been entertaining too. I almost like that more than I like what's going on in the ring. I'm a little bit worried about stuff that's going on backstage with the WWE and the double standards because of Dwayne's promos and just how he's able to curse on television and nobody else is. And then lastly, Roman Reigns. Yes, he's being upstaged at the moment, and I don't think it's necessarily going to matter. I'm starting to think that the writing is on the wall, that he's going to lose the championship. He's going to get a lot of time off. This is a perfect chance to write him off of television, bring him back maybe at Money in the Bank. People will forget about him. Don't have to worry about it. Then you can just roll with Cody Rhodes as your WWE Universal Champion. Rock can go off into the sunset turning face, and here we go.
Yeah. No, I agree. He needs a break, and I think he has to drop it this year, you would think. Now, you know that sometimes I root for chaos, and if Roman won that match, social media that night would be very entertaining for me. That said, I think Cody winning is the right decision. I think he will, and yeah, I think they'll give Roman an extended break. He'll come back angry, and it'll freshen up his character a little bit, but we're not there yet. So on the build, Justin, what have you thought of The Rock's return?
It's fine. I think it's effective for the majority of WWE, viewers. It's not 100% really for me. Like even back in the day, they were just kind of okay, and to bring that kind of same attitude era delivery just doesn't do much for me now. I will say that new entrance he has is, whoo boy, that is really good. Excellent stuff there. But like, I just think it's so obvious, and there's a chance that this is on purpose, but I think it's so obvious that he just desperately wants to be the baby face and not a heel. That Memphis promo where he tries to explain to us how much Memphis means to him, because that's kind of where he came up in wrestling, and he did the, I'm home things. Like, come on, just lean in to being a heel. That is where your bread and butter is at, So that promo was really hit or miss for me. But all in all, I mean, I think you got to call it a win for the company. And as far as, Roman Reigns go, it's not hard to outshine somebody when Rock's showing up and Roman isn't, but kind of to Jesse's point, all it really takes for Roman, which says a lot to his star power, at least in the wrestling world, is that all he needs to do is show up. And I think he gets that shine back.
Now, he did attack John Morant in the Rock concert, so he had one heel line that they booed him for. But yeah, you're right. It was kind of odd for him. Pretty much the Rock concert in Memphis was all babyface Rock, and I think it's just foreshadowing where we're going I think it's pretty obvious that he's going to turn on the bloodline. We've seen the clues all along, and then that will set up the eventual match with Roman as long as this match goes off without a hitch and he doesn't get injured, because I think it's a real concern. I mean, obviously a tag match, he'll be able to protect himself a little bit more, and that's probably always the way they should have gone with this. But as long as this works out fine, they will do the singles match eventually, and this obviously seems like the vehicle to set it up. I've talked with some friends about this, and they think, that it reminds them that Roman isn't so great, because when Rock's out there, he seems like such a star compared to Roman, and Roman's just like the little brother hanging out when they're in the ring together, at least, that I think it has hurt him. But to Justin's point, or to Jesse's point, it probably won't matter because he's going to be off TV in a couple of weeks for a while anyways. But it's sure kind of odd to go into WrestleMania with the top champion of the company playing second fiddle, isn't it? I mean, I know this is like an all-time legend.
Yeah, I agree somewhat. I will say that, what was it, at least a couple of weeks back now, when Roman stopped him from doing, the finally, and then he made him, tell him that Roman's the tribal chief. I thought that was really well done, and did a good job of making them come off more as equals. But I mean, you put anybody next to The Rock and they're going to feel like a lesser star. I mean, Rock is beyond wrestling. He's beyond movies. It's going to be impossible for him not to overshadow anybody he's in the ring with.
Yeah, for sure. A couple things here. Or go ahead. Then I got a couple things on the presentation, but you go ahead.
Justin,
first.
go.
Justin froze. I froze him. I rose my hand and he froze. Look at that. That's the power that I have over this podcast. I was just like, hold on, and he froze.
Hosting
His
legend
video is
Brian
currently
Drosty.
frozen. Okay, so until Justin gets back, he's not going to hear this, I guess. But what I was going to say is, I agree with him. That's true. Anyone is going to seem lesser than, but you want to at least prop up your world champ to at least seem equal. Now, it doesn't help that Rock is freaking gigantic. I mean, Roman obviously is a big guy, but Roman next to The Rock looks small. I mean, this guy is gigantic. And then to the point about the entrance, dude has the best entrance in the entire company by a mile. I mean, they put together this lightning effects and they bring back the Hollywood Rock thing, and it's unreal, the presentation he has. Yeah, I mean, then the freedom he has in his promos, and you're already working behind because, as Justin said, he's such a star. Now, I did think that I think I mentioned this on the pod a couple weeks ago, when Rock came back to feud with John Cena, he seemed like he got rolled on the mic when they had their promos. I remember going into their first match, and it was like, man, Rock looks like he's over the hill when it comes to wrestling promos. But maybe it's just the nostalgia factor. I think he's been really good for the most part. I mean, a couple of those early ones we talked about, he repeated himself and they went on a little bit long. But dude, I'm just reveling in the nostalgia. I thought the Rock concert was hilarious. I enjoyed every second of that. I won't apologize for it. I thought it was very entertaining, and I loved seeing the Hollywood Rock stuff come back. And I think Cam made the point on Unplugged with you, Jesse, that even for us as longtime watchers, like Justin mentioned, he wasn't even into it 20 years ago. We have to keep in mind that we're in our 40s, and these people that are in their 20s never saw this. They might have gone back on the network and watched some of it, but it's very new to them. So we can't sit here really and say oh, you shouldn't enjoy this. This is all just him repeating what he used to do. It's it's new to them, and they're digging all of it. And I'm digging it as a longtime wrestling fan. So I just think that for a couple of reasons, he's overshadowing Roman. Not just because of the star power, but because everything about his presentation makes him look like the bigger star. The entrance, the freedom on the mic, So, I mean, again, we're heading towards the eventual singles match between the two of them. It will all be fine. I just thought it was worthy of talking about. Justin, what were you going to say before I froze you? I was talking about how I rose my hand and I said, wait a second, and it froze you. You're just done. That's the power of the host chair, my friend.
So do we all agree? I think we do, that this is leading to some sort of Rock turn at WrestleMania where he's going to screw over Roman or something, right?
Yep.
So how do we think they're going to play this out? Where is this either Rock has been good all along, or something's going to happen in night 1 or night 2 that's going to make him turn against Roman. I ask because, like, I'm trying to think of the dynamics. If he's been playing if he's been playing Roman this whole time, what's going to happen with that night 1 match? Like, are they just going to have a normal 20-minute tag team match where Rock is actually in there trying to beat Seth and Cody? Because that doesn't really make sense if he's trying to screw Roman in the long run. So I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think? How is this all going to work out?
Well, one caveat, and then I'll send it to Jesse, is I think Bloodline, I think Roman and Rock win that match for sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
And and actually, now that you say that, I guess that's why The Rock is gonna, bring it on WrestleMania night 1, is so that he can ensure that the Bloodline gets to interfere in night 2 to ensure that he can be there in order to make sure he can cost Roman that world title, which also I think that kind of stinks. I think Cody needs to win it outright, or at least have the perception of winning it outright.
I don't think that he's going to cost Roman so much as he's going to fight off the other Bloodline people, is how I envision it playing out.
That makes sense.
Solo Jimmy, they're going to try to interfere, and then he's going to flip and he's going to fight him off. Like, just as Cody has the match won, and then you'll get the stunned Roman face. You know what Kyle always used to make fun of? They'll zoom in on the stunned face, and then Cody will take him out with Crossroads and beat him. I think that's how it's going to play out. Go ahead, Jesse.
If they really want to lean into some storytelling, they can go back to The Rock whispering in Cody's ear when Cody said, "I'm stepping aside, and here comes Dwayne." We all remember the 20-second embrace where the hug and the whisper, and Cody just stepped away looking like a little schoolboy, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And I got to fire this joke off, by the way, because we mentioned Memphis. I mean, now John Morant can defect to AEW and join Bullet Club Gold. Guns up!
Very nice. Well done.
Teed that up perfectly. Nice. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm into the build for the main event at least. We could talk about the rest of the card and how it's lining up, but I'm into this stuff. I think that's probably how it's going to play out. At least I think it is fairly certain Cody's going to win. You can't have the guy lose 2 years in a row. Right?
Yeah, that'd be real bad. I've said this from the start. I don't buy this whole they want to break Hogan's record. I mean, that's just an individual record. It doesn't actually mean anything. And I believe it was talked about on Unplugged, where it's like they don't want to erase Hogan. Like, the rest of us, some of us would like Hogan to be erased. He's still an icon in that company. So, there are some things on this WrestleMania 40 card I would like to touch on with you guys, but also this seems like the perfect transition where, is there a chance for the long-term story, Rock versus Roman, for that to take place in Minneapolis, Minnesota at WrestleMania 41?
Oh. Look at the face that Jesse Velasquez is making right now. Talk about 6 to midnight.
I've got places I can go that whole week. I'm going to start with Wale Mania, then I'll probably hit up a couple of other sightings while I'm here.
You were already pitching like the location for Wale Mania and over on Unplugged. Mm-hmm. You told Cam to tell the powers that be. I know where this should be.
Oh, I would absolutely love that, because I could finally meet Andreas, Kell, and Cam in person. That'd be wonderful. So yeah, Minneapolis, please.
Is the Armory bigger than 7th Ave?
First Ave, yes.
First Ave. It is? Okay.
Yes,
so I know they have wrestling events at First Ave, and it's obviously pretty famous.
That would be sweet as hell.
Music.
Yeah.
I think, if the venue, if they don't have enough to fill it, 100% go to First Avenue. If you want to try, if you have like double the capacity, get to the Armory. The acoustics are better than First Ave. I know the legendary stuff with Prince and everything that's ever taken place, all the stars along the wall. I've been to a couple First Wrestling events there too. Nostalgia, great. I think if you, again, more seats, go to the Armory. Good stuff.
I mean, we don't know for sure, but it seems like some Minnesota politicians have been hinting that something big could be getting announced soon. And we've talked about it for years on this podcast. Like, it's been stunning they haven't run it there, because US Bank Stadium is always ranked as one of the top stadiums in the NFL. It's like there and SoFi, and Allegiant, pretty much are like the top venues. And I think we all think they're going to do it in Vegas, maybe the year after.
Mhm.
But to me, if they were going to do it in Vegas, they would have announced it at that press conference event
Yeah,
that they did.
agree.
I don't know what, if they're not doing it there next year, or if they were going to do it there next year, they would have announced it, I think. So Minneapolis makes a lot of sense. We did that exercise a few weeks ago here on the pod where we tried to predict the next 5 WrestleMania locations, and we all put it on there. And I mean, anyone in the Midwest is going to hope it's going to be there. Great city with wrestling tradition. There's a lot of tie-ins they can do with the Hall of Fame. Just a great downtown area overall. Beautiful venue. Good airport there. Anytime I've flown out of Minneapolis, it's been a good experience for me, at least. They have really good, efficient airport. They get the whole skywalk system downtown if it is cold. But I mean, by that point in time, it shouldn't be that cold. You never know in the Midwest. But I mean, certainly if they can run WrestleMania outdoors at that hideous giant stadium in New Jersey, I'm sorry, I've been there, and that stadium has zero character. It is like a circle of cement, and it's outdoors. Now, I know it's New York City. Well, not technically. It's across the river in New Jersey, but still, if they're going to do that outdoors, don't tell me you can't run Minneapolis because you think it might be a little cold. It's a world-class city. They got to do it.
Have you seen what's taken place this winter?
Yeah.
It's been warm with minimal snow. We're actually going to get more snow, I think, tonight than we've gotten all winter.
I was told climate change was a hoax, Jesse.
That's a different podcast. Go sign up to Mr. Drosty's History podcast over on YouTube.
Yes. Any other thoughts on the WrestleMania card? So Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. Okay, you got Drew continuing to tease the CM Punk stuff, which has been phenomenal. If you haven't seen his video he put out tonight with Cry Me a River, I was going to play it on the pod, and then I started thinking this might get flagged for copyright because he played Cry Me a River, like half of it in the background. But going after Punk still, it sure seems like Punk is going to cost him the match. That sucks because I think they should belt him up. I don't know what his contract situation is. Obviously, that's kind of been the thing kind of hanging there throughout. But Drew McIntyre, to me, is the most entertaining thing on WWE TV right now. And, I mean, where do you guys, Jesse, go to you. Where do you see this one heading?
You have to belt him up. I don't know if they've been secretive with his contract negotiations or what's going on. Back on the Unplugged that I went solo last week, I talked about contract scenarios in WWE aligning themselves with TKO and not spending on these free agents. So you got to spend at home. You have to re-sign all of your people. Drew has become pivotal. We're thinking maybe the next 2-3 years, he's going to be a staple in your main event picture, especially if he can do this. You get Punk, you got Rollins, and you have a few other feuds that he can roll back to. I'd belt him, just like you said.
Yeah. Justin?
Yeah, absolutely. He's the best thing going, in my opinion, in the WWE right now. And I actually kind of love the idea. Like, I think it would be incredibly stupid for the WWE to put the belt on Punk, anytime soon until they can be sure that he has, a healthy body at all. But I do love the idea of them playing into Drew's contract coming up, and they could go into like a Money in the Bank 2011 situation where, look at this, the man who has to stop Drew McIntyre from leaving the company with the belt is CM Punk. I think that would make for, a little interesting twist to that story.
Also, do your homework when you belt up CM Punk. You saw what he did in that last company when they belted him up a couple times.
I think there's zero argument to put a belt on CM Punk. I don't think it should happen at all. I think it's way too risky. I mean, just beyond the backstage crap, which I know, the WWE stands are still out there saying, oh, look, he's getting along so well in WWE. Did you not pay attention to I don't know, the first full year he was in AEW? That was fine too. I'm sure there's going to be some drama eventually, but beyond that, it's just the issue with his health. I think it would be foolish. They did it 2 times in the other company, and look what happened. So certainly if Bryan Danielson can continue being one of the best wrestlers in the world and not be belted up, how can you say, well, CM Punk has to win the world title? He doesn't have to win the world title. And I hope that he doesn't cost Drew McIntyre. I hope his involvement at Mania is Drew wins, and then maybe they do a face-off to tease a future match or something like that, because I agree with both of you. Drew McIntyre needs to be world champion. He has to win it at WrestleMania. He should, but we'll see.
Let's get a CM Punk versus Adam Cole made of glass world championship match.
Maybe do that in the Performance Center. Yeah. Oh, man. All right. Yeah, go ahead.
You guys mind if I nitpick a couple things? Because on paper, I think this WrestleMania is actually looking pretty good. I need a little bit more fire from this Jimmy and Jay feud to get that over the top. But two things really bothered me. DIY over the Creed brothers? Really? Like I was shocked that was the matchup. I was like, oh, interesting. I mean, when I was watching the show, I was like, holy shit, Creed brothers going to go over DIY here. And nope. DIY going to WrestleMania. I think that stinks because the Creed brothers are one of the tandems that are really growing on me, and a team that you could really look at as part of a youth movement that WWE desperately needs.
Yeah.
And then the other match that involves two of my favorite wrestlers, two of my top three in WWE right now, has left me very lukewarm. Gunther versus Sami Zayn for the IC title. I don't know why I'm supposed to get excited for the possibility of Sammy's, what would this be, fourth, fifth, sixth reign with the IC title? I mean, that's a big who cares, especially when you had Chad Gable sitting right there. And I know there's still maybe the possibility of making that a triple threat, but even that at this point would feel watered down just because we already have a triple threat for the US title that's going to be happening. I don't know. I really wanted Sammy in that world title scene, not to take away from Drew, who we all love, but that would have been more, monumental. And frankly, it just leaves me thinking that Gunther's walking out of WrestleMania with IC title.
Yeah. I think with DIY, it's just a nod to them being in the company for a long time and not being out in WrestleMania. I think they just wanted to get them on the card. I agree with you. It would make long-term more sense for the Creed brothers to be on there. I feel like it's just a nod to okay, you spent all this time in the company, we're going to get you on the card kind of thing.
Participation awards. You got to
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. If only we had put those guys in WrestleMania in 2021 or something like that. So disappointed there. And then Awesome Truth.
They're winning, right? Is that what we think?
Do they have to?
No, they don't have to, and they shouldn't. But I think that's where we're heading, unfortunately.
We like our truth. I'll just stop there.
Yeah. Although shout out to Maurice with what she's been going through. I don't know if you guys follow that. She's been having some serious health issues, and
I had not heard that.
they caught it pretty early though, which is really good to see. I just saw this on Instagram, maybe 20 minutes before we went on the air tonight. She's been dealing with some serious stuff. So
well, hopefully those health issues don't lead to a divorce like another couple. Talking about Miro, that is.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Should we transition to AEW, or do we have anything else on WrestleMania at this point?
That's it.
Okay, real quick, but I'm curious, how do you guys feel about Sammy being Gunther's opponent? You care at all?
Interesting. No, it's not interesting. I would be more interested in a triple threat scenario, personally. The one that you pitched with Gable.
I'm going to be psyched for the match quality of it. But from a full investment perspective, Justin, I do agree with you. I don't think it's quite there because Sammy's been there, done this, and if he does win this, what does that do? What does that do for his career? Because he's already hit some peaks in the last couple of years. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be just say he runs with it for 6 months or so. Is he going to get thrown back in that world title picture when he loses it? You don't want Gunther regaining it from him either. So Chad Gable did make the most sense there.
Yeah. At this point, just keep the IC title on Gunther until you're literally 2 months away from strapping him up with one of the big boy belts. Either, the world championship or that mid-Carter one that Seth carries.
Yeah. the fake world title, yes. The plaything. And the one that we're pitching Drew McIntyre should win. Absolutely.
That is correct.
Maybe Drew can make it more real. I don't know.
If you have not been watching wrestling since 2001 and 2, folks, if you just picked it up there, most wrestling companies have one world champion previous to that. That's how organizations worked. Boxing has more than one world champion because their whole system's effing corrupt. We don't want our pro wrestling that way.
It just confuses new fans. Who's the champion? Like, no, really, who's the top guy? Well, it's, Seth Rollins and Roman. No, but who's the real guy? That's what people say. Who's the real champion? Nobody takes them as equals. They never will. It's obviously
Never.
Roman Reigns. Come on. Well, since we last recorded you guys together, our last show was Sting's last match at Revolution. We reviewed that. What a great night for pro wrestling. And we are going to do a Sting draft at some point in the near future. We're trying, WrestleMania season's crazy. We got some stuff planned over the next couple of weeks. We're trying to find a time to fit it in where we can adequately research for the Sting draft. So that will be coming. Stay tuned. But since we recorded that show, we've had a lot of newsworthy things happen in AEW while we've been off the air. We got Mercedes Moné coming to AEW. We've got Kazuchika Okada now with a belt in AEW now at this point in time. We've got Dynasty on the horizon. Bryan Danielson taking on Will Ospreay. We got Will Ospreay looking like the next big thing for this company. Justin, yes, exactly. I mean, there's a lot happening in that company to be excited about as well. Great time in pro wrestling overall. I mean, where should we start? There's so much to talk about in AEW right now. Will Ospreay?
I mean, yeah, I've said that, I think I said this, on our Revolution review show. I have not been the biggest Will Ospreay fan. I appreciate his work, but him coming in and getting to see him cut promos regularly, he's just growing on me so much. I need him, or at least the type of matches he has. I need, like, not squashes, but a little bit less competitive ones. I need some of those on TV to actually show him as like a dominant force, not just somebody who can only have, 15, 20 minute, kick out of 1,000 finishers kind of a match, but goddamn, this is just one of those things where I did not know how badly I wanted to see Will Ospreay versus Danielson until it was announced. And I had to change a whole lot of things in my life because I'm fucking going to that.
Man, you're lucky that you had a friend who pulled
I know, right?
of great lower level tickets to that show. Just happened to buy a second pair, like he got his first pair to take his daughter to the show. And then he just kept watching that seating chart, and lo and behold, some aisle seats in the row right in front open up. And he thought, maybe I should take those seats too. I'm sure there's going to be someone who wants this other pair. So I bought them, and lo and behold, Justin Joint was talking to the trip to St. Louis. And there we are.
There's literally not another match they could have announced. And this is, I'm even talking Swerve and Joe for the world title that would have made me do a 180 on that show like I did. I mean, I am not missing Danielson versus Will Ospreay, if only because I am fascinated by the dynamics of that match, because you talk about how great both these guys are. They are great in two very different ways. You look at the Takeshita match and the Kyle Fletcher match with Ospreay. That is completely different from what we saw in that 6 to midnighting Danielson Shibata match. That was fucking amazing. I mean, I got to see how this works, because this is oil and water we're looking at.
Yeah, Jesse, I saw you're just eager to jump in, and you're the Will Ospreay guy on this podcast, longtime Will Ospreay guy. So go ahead.
Remember how I said the floor started at 5 stars for Ospreay and Takeshita?
Yeah,
the floor starts at 5.25 with Ospreay and Danielson. Having watched Will Ospreay work with Zack Sabre Jr. multiple times and the chemistry those two have had, seriously, go through a rabbit hole, watch every match of theirs. Ospreay knows how to adapt to technicians. Technicians know what to do with him. They play to each other's strengths and weaknesses tremendously to where I think matches are very well constructed. It forces Ospreay to slow down, use more psychology, and just makes the experience that much more fun. So someone can walk out of it saying, I thought Ospreay was a flippy guy, and just go, whoa, he all of a sudden just turned me in 180 degrees around. And that's what Danielson's about to do. And if Danielson doesn't do it, Katsuyori Shibata is going to do it next Wednesday night on Dynamite.
Oh my God. Cannot wait for that. You get Ryan and Shibata, and now we're getting Ospreay and Shibata. My God, that crowd was pissed they weren't getting that match the other night. They booed the shit out of that when they were like, Ospreay's like, next week. No, not next week. Come on, Toronto. You got a good main event anyways.
Yes,
talk about later. Yeah.
We got to find that Ospreay Shibata match somewhere online. I don't know if that's under the Rev Pro's library or not, or if it's under a YouTube or a Daily Motion hole, but it's definitely worth seeing. I don't need to touch on anything else. I think I just sold you on the Ospreay Danielson match.
Well, when that match became official, and I was trying to talk Justin into taking this trip. Justin, you don't know this, but I actually I made a phone call to your wife, and I was like, Caitlin, Justin really needs to go to this show. And what I need for you to do right now is I'm going to send Justin a message that this match is going to happen. It's going to be official. And I know he's on his computer right now. And I need you to go downstairs and secretly take a picture of Justin when he sees that this match has been officially announced. And I actually have that footage. Caitlin Joint actually sent me the picture that she secretly took of Justin Joint when he saw this match was official, and I'm going to put it on the stream right now. There it is.
That's what 6 to midnight looks like, folks.
That is not far from the truth, friends.
Mount Joint.
And this is why you need to be watching the video streams, y'all, because you're missing the joke if you're on the podcast feed right now. So you could fast forward to, 40 minutes into the podcast and see what we're talking about.
That's good stuff.
Oh, I had to set that up good. There it was. No, I did not talk to Justin's wife, but I'm glad he convinced her that this trip would be all right, because my God, it's going to be amazing. Going to be a fun night. Yeah, so we got that. We got Mercedes. Okay, what have we thought of Mercedes? She debuted right away last week on Dynamite in Boston, came out. It looks like she's kind of going to be in a TBS title picture right now, right off the bat. She's not jumping in, in the Toni Storm, the AEW Women's Championship line, but more the TBS picture. She's been messing around with Julia Hart and Sky Blue and, the Willow Nightingale and everything with their history. What have we thought, Jesse, on what we've seen so far with Mercedes and AEW?
It's worked. I think not underwhelming is the word. I think it's been fine. She's done pretty well so far. I like that she's going to be chasing Julia Hart. I like that there's instant chemistry going back to the Willow match where she got injured at the New Japan Strong show. I like the Stokely Hathaway's about to be involved because that guy's gold. So let's get her wrapped up in that. And I think that's going to set Toni Storm and Mariah May up for a world title picture. I think a run here for a few months before maybe at the end of the year or something, Mercedes can be elevated to that point. They don't necessarily need to rush her right now. I think her mere presence on television should help. So,
well, Tony's already a star, and we've raved about Julia Hart and her character and everything on this show. All this is going to do is elevate her. So I think it's a good way to start off. I've seen some people complaining about this, but I actually like it. Justin?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I buy that she's going after the TBS title yet. I think this is just kind of a intertwined feud with different ladies that is going to kind of kill time until maybe All In, where she'll maybe start going after that world title, because I think that's got to be the long-term, if not short-term goal with her in AEW.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's still early. Everything is just fine for me right now. Did you guys notice that she came out, or her new entrance theme is Gunther's old theme from NXT? It's like a spruced up version of an actual classical tune that Gunther used to come out to. It's the basis for what Jaws, that theme song, was on. I don't like the transition to the CEO in the theme
I
song.
don't either.
That's
Yeah.
pretty crap. But yeah, it's for me, it's wait and see.
That's the only thing that I would complain about is I think her theme song is not good. I don't think it matches her charisma and her presentation at all. It's just not good. I don't like it. And in WWE, she had, at least till she changed it, like one of the all-time great theme songs in WWE, the original one that she had going back to NXT. This one doesn't work. Yeah, it comes across a little forced, I think. But she brings a good amount of star power, and I think that they've been doing a really good job with playing into what happened with her and Willow and the injury and everything. And so for all the people that say stuff like AEW doesn't have any storylines, well, that's bullshit, because this has been pretty good. This is a good way to bring her in and to tease that heat between the two sides. So I think it's good so far. The theme song was my one complaint. Yep. Jesse, you're nodding your head. Yeah. What else should we talk about here? So should we talk about that main event last night? I loved it. Christian and Adam Copeland, TNT title in Toronto. We got Copeland winning, I guess, technically the second time the TNT title. This time he kept it coming out of the show, and they had a tremendous brawl. I love the spot early in the match when they went into the penalty box and they stole the jerseys, the Bruins and the Maple Leaf jerseys, and started brawling. That was really good. I thought the way that they took the title off Christian with, him getting out the spiked paddle. I can't remember what does he call it? Is it
Spike?
Is it Spike? Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good way for him to quit with the handcuffs, with with all of his patriarchy friends and all of that, chasing off Mother. I thought that was all good. But yeah, I thought it was a really good addition to Dynamite. I really liked the main event. Yeah. Justin?
I'm going to keep it real simple. That was easily my favorite Adam Copeland match since he came back in 2020. Easily. I thought it was pitch perfect. And I actually had a weird viewing experience with it because, going in, I'm like, this has got to be Copeland. By the way, the poster for Cage versus Cope going into this match was chef's kiss.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But, I think it was like only just a few minutes into the match. I hopped on Twitter real quick and I thought I saw a tweet from somebody, and because I watched it on DVR after the fact, but I did not look at the results. I thought I saw somebody post something like shock that Christian won, but like that they were happy because it shows that he was the bigger superstar. I was like, oh, that's interesting and unexpected. So I watched the entire rest of the match expecting Christian to win, and like beat by beat, I'm just watching like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would Christian win this match? This is going to get real awkward here, and it's going to make Copeland look like a real doofus. But like the second he won, I was like, oh, thank God. I was like, and I was rooting for Christian, but like the way they laid that match out was just fantastic. And I was happy to see the result, which is saying something because I have not been the biggest Adam Copeland fan since his return.
Yeah. To your point about his best match since his return, I would say it's neck and neck with the match he had with Sheamus on SmackDown. Ironically, also in Toronto. That was a really good one too.
True.
But yeah, this is right up there. Jesse?
I like their match at World's End as well.
Yeah.
What I will say is the night before, I happened to watch DDP versus Christian, and I also watched Edge versus Booker T at WrestleMania 18 in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really interesting that 22 years later, here they are main eventing in Toronto. Edge wearing the Maple Leafs gear. Awesome stuff there too. You guys touch on the match as a whole. I'm going to nitpick just a smidgen at the very end. Suspend my disbelief, getting kicked in the nuts 5 or 6 times. Dude, you're dead.
You wouldn't even be able to respond with a word if
that
you're
is
quitting or not.
That reminds me of my nitpick, is that the way the match was structured with the I Quit, it made for a lot of weird moments where you're just sitting there, with the mic shoved into Adam Copeland's face, and you're just waiting for him to say no, and he just doesn't say anything. So it makes for an awkward moment, but I get where Adam Copeland wouldn't want to say no, because he's getting the mic shoved in his face right after like what would be knockout blows, not like during submissions. So it's like, what are we doing here, folks? It just kind of made for some awkward moments for a match I otherwise loved.
The broken hockey stick, the nightstick, the weapons. Love that part. Yeah, like I said, I think everything was great. Like I said, though, my God, if someone gets hit in the nuts once, it hurts. Multiple times, are you still alive?
I would have cut the first nut shots and just done the one with the spike, and then him just selling the hell out of it, and then acting like he's going to do it a second time, and then he quits. That would have been fine. You didn't need the shots before that, I think. But yeah, I mean, overall though, man, it was a fun addition to Dynamite. Great main event. We got the tease for Ospreay and Shibata, like we talked about, and Dynasty. Not a lot officially announced yet, but I mean, it's looking like we might get Joe and Swerve. Looks like that's the direction. We'll see. I wanted to talk about this. I didn't even have this in my agenda, but now my memory's jogged. Would you have Joe retain? Would you have Swerve win the title? Where's Will Ospreay then going to factor into your plans for the world title for the rest of the year? Because I think all of us are kind of on board with this idea that Ospreay's a guy you build this company around. And I think we all envision him fighting for the title at All In at Wembley, next August, which, look, it's only 5 months away. And we know this is a company that usually has long title reigns, but we've also talked about how we want to see Swerve get a run with the title. So do you flip it to Swerve now? And do you have him carry it all the way to All In to wrestle Ospreay and force Jesse Velasquez to buy an expensive plane ticket to fly over to the UK? I mean, is that what we do, Jesse? Or what do you think? How do you think it's going to play out?
Gosh, I don't know, because when that card ended last year, the All In card, I said right away I wanted Ospreay Danielson at next year's All In, and here we are getting it in St. Louis. I'm quite surprised. I really thought they were going to hold off to like a Double or Nothing or something like massive, like an All In. So Swerve winning the championship, he should. He should. This has nothing to do with Samoa Joe being a second-rate champion, because that guy has been damn good. I mean, how do you screw him out of it? I see that Swerve is wrestling Takeshita on Wednesday night. That guy hasn't lost much in the last year either. So are they going to screw Swerve there? Do we get? I mean, I think Joe versus Takeshita wouldn't happen just because it's heel versus heel, but. Yeah, I'm gonna say you got to go Swerve Ospreay at All In. This is gonna be the largest main event in AEW's history there, because you have the local wrestling for the championship. Ticket sales, I haven't seen them recently, but I'm guessing they're between 45, high 40s, so you can get that thing up into the 70s.
I just looked; they just passed 40,000 today.
Yeah,
they're at 40 right now. Yeah, but I mean, plenty of time to sell even more. And Swerve is super popular right now. He's really good as a heel though, and Ospreay's gonna get the cheers at Wembley. So yeah, I'm kind of sold on that idea. Justin?
I think all three of us, basically from I don't know what, October,
Wrestle Dream.
From then on, we were all like, let's get the title on Swerve sooner rather than later. Strike while the iron's hot. And now, for me, seeing Will Ospreay somewhat regularly, and we've been saying this from the start too, but you bring in Will Ospreay, you crown him, and probably do it at All In. Makes a whole lot of sense. Since Will Ospreay came in, I have started thinking, keep the title on Samoa Joe and have him lose to Will Ospreay at All In. I think that makes it mean a little bit more. And an argument can be made that is this Swerve rise the real deal? I think all of us agree this is just not a one-off or, a whim with him. Hold off on him. See how big he can get. Make sure that this is the real deal. And with the history between Will Ospreay and Swerve, I think it could mean a whole lot more to Swerve beating Will Ospreay for the world title, about this time next year, after Will Ospreay's had a little run with it, then maybe it would be for him just taking it from, for lack of a better word, because I do not actually believe this, a transitional champion in Samoa Joe, So I'm starting to think keep it on Joe until All In, where he can lose to Will Ospreay. Because I don't know, changing titles now and giving Swerve a little 4 to 5 month run, especially if they don't do it at Dynasty, if they hold off until Double or Nothing, then Swerve's reign is even shorter. I think you risk changing some of the fans' perspective as to the stature of Swerve.
Ryan, go ahead. I want to add something later.
Well, it's longer than CM Punk held the title, Justin. I worry a little bit. I'm going to disagree with you. I worry a little bit about if Swerve comes up short again, what that will do with his perception, because he's had this meteoric rise.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned Wrestle Dream On. He really shot up the card at that point in time. That was the turning point, I feel like, around Wrestle Dream, where he got really hot, and then you went into full gear with that unbelievable match with Hangman. He's still hot, but like I do think he's cooled off a bit right now. And I think that if he comes up short, it might be a little risky. Like, is he going to regain that momentum? That would be my pushback on it. I tend to think he should win it. Not that Joe hasn't been great, but I think Swerve has earned it. I think the fans want it. And I think with Ospreay winning it, yeah, it'll be logical. You're talking about like a 4-month title run for Swerve. But man, people will be excited as hell for that match, regardless of how it turns out. Jesse, I can see you want to jump in. Go ahead.
Justin, go, and then I'll go.
I was going to just say, hindsight 2020, man, I wish TK would have just switched Joe and Swerve's roles after Wrestle Dream, where, put Joe in C2, have Swerve be the one who makes the deal with the devil, wins the title at World's End, and then he can carry the title for 9 months, 8 months into All In. I wish that's what would have happened.
Yeah.
Tony Khan, Will Washington, hire this guy. God, sweet. Yes. All right. I am going to test Ryan's knowledge here. Not knowledge here, but I want to test Ryan a little bit. So Justin and I talked about this at the Revolution preview, because Ryan, you were gone. I mentioned that maybe Swerve could be Stone Cold Steve Austin in 1997. So maybe this delayed gratification could pay off. Now, this is where I'm going to ask Ryan the question. The Shawn Michaels, Steve Austin, King of the Ring 1997 World Championship match. Austin was not as hot as Swerve. Do we agree there?
In King of the Ring 97, when they were the tag champs and they wrestled?
Did they wrestle for the world championship? Was that 96 that they wrestled for the championship?
Austin
when
and Michaels?
Austin and Michaels, yes.
They were the tag champions, and they wrestled each other.
In 97.
Okay.
In 97, yeah.
Why did I think Austin had a world title shot at King of the Ring 97?
I don't know. That's the show where I've talked about on the pod, where I ordered it super early because Brett was supposed to wrestle Shawn, and then they canceled the match, and then it was
Taker was champion. That's right. Yeah. Okay. Because that was kind of a heat check, I almost think, for Steve Austin, too, was wrestling Shawn Michaels at King of the Ring 97. But my point was just kind of neutered. Yeah. It was kind of neutered because Austin didn't challenge for the world title, though.
He challenged Taker, right? Cold Day in Hell.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah. Was that May 97?
I think so.
Was May 97. Yeah, because April 97, Brett and Austin wrestled again.
There we go. Okay, so I was kind of in that right vicinity. We all know and saw what happened with Austin. It took 11 months, and it took a couple of hoops here and there, but he all of a sudden exploded. I think the instant or the delayed gratification could benefit Swerve here too. So I do like Justin's point, but I also am a little bit concerned it could backfire too. So I lied directly in the middle. I like both of your logics, but Ryan, do you think that you could be swayed if we play that scenario?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not certain that he would lose all his momentum. I just think it's a little risky. I'm a little worried because it does feel like he's cooled off a bit right now. But, Austin he was just a meteor, in the sky that year, that even though he didn't win the title, you could see it coming all year long. I mean, he just shot up the card, shot up the merchandise charts, and that's another thing. Get Swerve some good merchandise, for God's sakes.
That's the key.
I think
go
an
ahead,
argument could be made as to, because I agree with you, it does feel a little bit like Swerve is cooled off. I think an argument could be made that that's, for one, because the world title was overshadowed reasonably at Revolution because of Sting's retirement, and then you also have Okada coming in, Mercedes Moné coming in, Will Ospreay coming in. Once everybody gets over the newness, this new car smell, their new toys, maybe some focus can come back on Swerve. And I gotta say, I want to see Swerve with the world title, but if you hold off, number one, you get to find out if it's real, if his superstardom is the real deal. And if it's not, unfortunately, Tony's got a lot of other options to go with at the top of the card.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's Russian roulette right there, Justin.
I mean, we don't want to just put the title on him just because, right? You want it to be at the right moment.
I agree with a lot of those points you made because, the triple threat and everything at Revolution, and then what happened right afterwards, it was definitely overshadowed a lot. I mean, is the way to rekindle his momentum just put him back with Hangman at Double or Nothing? Mm-hmm. Is that the recipe?
That's part of it.
Yeah.
There are so many feuds I think he could pivot to stay hot. If he wanted, he could go back and wrestle Moxley. Moxley defeated him already. What better? Run through the BCC.
Yeah, let that be the next year of Swerve. If you don't want to put the title on him now, let that be his next year. Have him beat the majority of the top guys just to increase his status as a top guy.
Hangman, Moxley, Danielson. Hey,
we still think Moxley's going to be the IWGP Heavyweight Champion here pretty soon, by the way? Because that's a whole nother angle to this story. Because we talked about this weeks ago that we thought that made sense. When is that Chicago show? Week after Mania?
Right in between Dynasty and WrestleMania.
Yeah. Because I think that could still happen like we talked about.
Unless they go with the young buck, Yota Tsuji, who won the New Japan Cup.
Yeah.
Who knows? Gato, from rumor has it, has not been booking the greatest lately.
I feel like they need someone with some name value.
They do.
Based on losing Okada, and I don't know.
Which I need to bring him up, by the way. Okada. Looking like $1 million every time he walks out there. That suit just looking like he is an absolute rock star. His quick little interactions with Alex Marvez and being aligned with the Bucks. I know that it's kind of in the heel role, but instantly he just exudes charisma. We all know it because I know, Ryan, you're probably the biggest Okada mark here.
Are you saying that I filmed myself at Dynamite last June, see him in person for the first time and put it on the podcast?
Dude, he had looked unreal, and the Continental Championship is already the number 2 belt in the promotion. It's not even close. I think Eddie already did a decent job enough of getting it there already, but now Okada has it. You just elevated it even more. That's the way I feel.
No, yeah. Presentation with him has been phenomenal so far. I mean, I like the pairing with the Bucks a lot. Him arriving in a Ferrari the other night, that was great. Yeah, I think they've done right by him. I think they've pretty much played this hand exactly how you should so far. And we love Eddie Kingston, but I mean, come on.
Agree 100% with you guys. Presentation has been great. Obviously that guy's got a ton of charisma. Okada, that is. There's something about that match that left me wanting. Like the second it ended, it was like, that's it, huh? That's
came
just
out of nowhere, kind of.
Yeah, that's how Eddie goes down. He has these super competitive matches with Danielson, and it just felt kind of like disappointment. Not just because I'm an Eddie fan, but it just didn't feel like as big of a deal as maybe it could have. Which is maybe the point, that Okada is just that much bigger of a star than Eddie.
And I also think his redemption story is coming. Talking about Eddie, I think if we can play this correctly, you mentioned Mark Briscoe a while ago, Justin.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's taken that title from Kingston. I think Kingston loses maybe to Gabe Kidd here, that New Japan Strong Championship. He's left without championships. That's a hungry Eddie Kingston. Here comes the redemption story.
I like it.
Wouldn't hate it.
Yeah. Guys, we've hit most of the topics we want to discuss tonight. Anything else from Dynamite?
Oh, I rewatched it tonight because Jesse, you sent us a text, and I want you to get into it about Jericho and Hook. Because I rewatched it, and I will admit I was half paying attention because it was a Jericho match. But the half attention I was paying to it was like, oh, that wasn't too bad. And I realized upon my second viewing is the reason I thought it wasn't bad is because I think it's kind of the outline of the match and where these two people are, I'm super okay with. Hook ain't it. I think he might have.
Yes.
I think he reached his peak in that Joe match. And if anybody thinks he's going to ever be world champion, I think you need to put that over under at like 7 to 8 years from now. It's going to be a while. In Jericho, I don't need on regular television, but if it's, trying to make Hook look like some dominating, superstar, so be it. They're both mid-carders, and that's what I thought that match was.
I've been saying this for the last 2.5 years on Hook. I feel like if you were to stack me right next to him, we'd look almost similar. He has never looked like a main eventer to me ever since he stepped in front of the company. I look at his dad, who was a main eventer in the number 3 promotion in America, but he stepped on the big stage. He wasn't it either. And I'm a huge Taz mark. Hook is missing something. And watching him work with Jericho last night, and Jericho just looked like dead weight half the time. Hook had a difficult time moving him around. I don't think he's a believable world champion. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, because I think that was a good point. That's what made me want to rewatch it, was you talking about all those suplexes on Jericho. And the issue was, I don't think Jericho trusted Hook at all to deliver those. You watch all those, and he's putting his hands down. He doesn't trust, to not end up on the top of his head on all those. He's not trying to help Hook out at all on those maneuvers, which may be the benefit to making them look more effective. But yeah, something is really off with those two chemistry wise. But also, if I have to have them on my regular television, let's get them together so we can get them out of the way in one segment.
And Hook has said about 17 words in the last 3 years of AEW programming. So I think you can tell right then and there, he's nowhere near the spotlight. And Justin said it right there. Over under on him being a world champion is 6.5 years. And I think he needs to be eating what Dwayne Johnson's been eating for the last decade.
Steroids?
3 initials, perhaps?
Accurate.
Okay. Yeah. I don't really disagree with anything you guys said. I agree with you, Justin. I think the shine has come off quite a bit since his height, for sure. Jesse, do you want to promote what you've been doing over on the Facebook group and social media, by the way? Because you put a ton of work into this, and you kind of getting through the first round now. Talk about what's been happening.
I remember when the pandemic was a thing, I used to get through one region in a day because there was nothing to do. And now it's to a point where I do 2 matches a day. So I've been doing this 2023-2024 Wrestler of the Year bracket on Facebook and Twitter, where I grade from March the 5th of last year to current day, just the top 64 wrestlers that have wrestled in America. And the seeding was very, very tough. I think some of them, like, for example, putting people in 2 seeds that shouldn't necessarily be there. It's something I had to do for the balancing act.
Nada. Excuse me.
Correct.
Sorry.
Yeah, I didn't want a whole bunch of WWE and AEW guys occupying all the top 4 seeds. I wanted some balance in there. So trying to get that figured out was very difficult. Throwing some indie guys in there that deserved some shine that don't get it, I threw them in there too. They're out in the first round, so be it. But it's really fun, and people have been voting on it. It's a blast. Round 2 is going to start on Sunday. Enjoy it. Share.
Very nice. Nice. Yeah. Join the Facebook group. Link in the description here. Good discussions every day. Really ramping up here in WrestleMania season and heading into Dynasty as well. So it had been a long time since we took a week off, and it's probably going to be a long time until that happens again. So we're glad to be back. We got content dropping on Patreon. Like we mentioned, I'll be on PW Torch next week, so stay tuned for that. You can follow us on all the social feeds at Top Rope Nation as well. I am at Ryan Drosty. Justin, go ahead.
Just the last thing, I finally found it. It's been bothering me the entire podcast. Gunther's old theme that is now Mercedes Monet's. I'm going to massacre the name. I apologize. It's Antonin Dvorak, Symphony Number 9 from the New World.
Yeah. I didn't recognize that in hers. It's just sped up.
Okay. Yeah. CEO.
Yeah.
CEO.
Yeah.
It was much cooler with Gunther.
My kids are watching with me. I mean, I know it's like the boss thing, but like I had to explain to him, what is CEO? And then I had to have like, okay, what is a CEO? And like I'm describing. It's a little convoluted. it's a bit convoluted. Everyone understands
forced.
The boss.
It's forced.
Yeah.
I'll wear this next week, I promise.
Yeah, no super chats, you guys. Boo. No Jesse stripping live on air. You could have had it. You could have had it for all of eternity on demand, and nobody stepped up to the plate. Maybe next week. All right, guys. Well, subscribe here on YouTube if you're watching either live or on demand. Hit the bell notification so that you know next time we go live and you can join us live. We had a ton of viewers watching tonight on Twitter from the analytics I'm seeing. So thanks for tuning in on the Twitter stream, or X, sorry.
It's Twitter.
Yeah, whatever. And thanks for everyone who joined us live. Appreciate it. Good to be back. And we will be talking to you all again very soon. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care.
Pipe down, bruv.